Good evening. It's your girl Manina with Legacy Book Bar. This is episode 8, I want to say, of the Sip and Chat. Tonight, I have the pleasure of having another DLP author, short for Divine Legacy Publishing, Miss Nikki Charest. Miss Nikki, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be joining with you tonight.
Yay.
I'm sipping.
Yes,
I'm
she got her sip. Yes,
I'm
yes.
ready.
Absolutely. She understands the points of the show.
I get the concept.
She got it. Thank you. So how has your week been?
It's been good. It's been long, but it's been good. I'm in Connecticut, so it's been raining. It's been raining. I've been trying to kind of like take advantage of the season. So I'm like, okay, it's raining. It's October, scary movie month, so maybe I'll catch up and
yes. And I've been watching your pages, and you crack me up with the listing all the horror movies, and I'm sitting here like never. Never.
Yep, I'm at like 30, and I probably got at least like another 20, 25 more on my list that I'm hoping I can get in by the end of the month. We're going to see though. We're going to see.
And I am that girl that will come to your house and fall asleep on all of the horror movies.
Like, nah, we're not doing this.
I'm not with you with these horror movies. Never.
That is so funny.
Not at all. Would it ever happen?
That is so funny.
People that are tuning in are going to watch this broadcast, and they have no idea that this is the first time that you and I have ever really met face to face. We've talked
for real
numerous times, either on the phone or via email. But this is the first time we've legit seen each other's faces in about a year.
It's so funny how that works, because you really talk to somebody and like kind of get to know them via social media and email that you really forget, like, I never met you for real. I feel like I've been knowing you forever.
I know. And then I want people to understand, as they're watching, you mentioned that you were in Connecticut, and I get quite a few people that say, oh, do you only deal with local Black authors? No, our authors are legit across the United States. I have them in Connecticut. If you watched last week, Donna Michelle, she's in California. I have a few in North Carolina. So Michelle is in Florida. So we are everywhere here represented at Legacy Book Bar. So that just shows us that the need for having our own independent Black-owned bookstores is a definite must. And clearly there is a home, at least with Legacy Book Bar, for any Black self-published authors that are looking to have their books sold in a bookstore. You have two in the bookstore. You have two. So people are just tuning in. I see our viewership is going up as we talk. So let's give the audience a little sneak peek, and let's tell everyone who you are, what you do in this book industry.
Okay, so I'm Nikki Charest. I have been writing not professionally for like maybe 20 years, but I've been writing for 20 years. Wow. When I was younger, like little kid, I was one of the kids who had a journal. I grew up, so I have 8 brothers and sisters. There's 8 of us total. Wow. But in my household, I was the only child at the time. So I didn't have anybody to talk to. And I know my grandma was probably like, this girl is crazy. Who is she in here talking to? So in order to stop looking so crazy, I was like, I'm just going to start putting my thoughts down. So that's how I started journaling and keeping a little diary and writing little stories. Stories turned to poems. Poems turned to anything. Started doing some spoken word here and there. And that's just kind of how it started. So it's just kind of always been a love for writing. And I knew that I wanted to do some books sometime soon. Just didn't know when that was going to happen. And so finally, a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, actually started her own self-publishing company. And I was like, girl, you really knew that I needed a push to get my stuff done. You knew I needed this push.
Yes, so, I know exactly what you're talking about. Absolutely.
Yes. Yep. So she was like, I'm starting my publishing company. You playing, you need to get it going, get to doing, get to writing.
Right.
And so that's what happened. So I was like, you know what? You're right. Let me do it. And I did it.
Okay. Now I must say, because I follow you on your author page and your professional page, and on your professional career, you, in my opinion, have an amazing job, and there are not a lot of Black women in that particular field. Now, side note, I did not go to college. Not a regret there. That was just a course of life. Absolutely. Had my plan been there, I would have went to Frostburg University and taken up sports journalism. So every time I see you and you're posting, I'm like, yes, wonderful.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome. And here's the funny thing about that. Funny thing about that is what I actually went to college for is totally not what I'm doing.
Oh, wow.
I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I went to school for political science. So I thought I was going to be a lawyer. And then I got ready to apply to law school and I saw that bill and I was like, how much it costs to go here? Yeah, this not going to work. 47 what? Oh, no, it's not. I'm not going to be able to do it. So that's exactly how that worked out. But I feel like, everything happens for a reason and God puts you on a path for wherever you need to be. And if it was meant for me to study law and be a lawyer, I'd have did that. It wasn't meant for that. He knew that he needed some big mouth Black girls in sports journalism and sports writing. And so that's where I am. Outside of writing books.
Exactly. So actually, I want to welcome we have some guests that left some comments really quickly. Of course, we have the fabulous Amanda Chambers that said, hey, y'all. Hey, Amanda. I posted the podcast in the Divine Legacy Publishing Facebook group. So hopefully we'll get some more DLP authors to tune in. I have my amazing sister, Miss Tamara Hawkins from Empowered Women in Business International. She tuned in. She said, hey, Queens. And then she said, what does she do? She's in sports journalism. She's a sports writer. She's like, that was my path. That's what I wanted to do. But it's okay because I have a bookstore. So I'm kind of still living the dream. And I'm okay with that.
You are. Exactly. It's a form of being in the writing world. It's a form.
Exactly. Exactly. So, but yes. So 20 years writing.
In a long time.
A long time.
And I don't even know, like some of the stuff that I was writing when I was younger, and I'm talking about young, like 13, 14, 15, 16. I didn't know, I had no business writing the stuff I was writing about. Like, I had no business writing about that kind of material. Like I have always written about romance and love and sex and erotica and stuff like that. And I'm like 14, girl, what are you doing? What do you know about what you're writing? Absolutely nothing. But in my mind, it was bomb. So, and it's interesting. I was cleaning out my mother's basement, maybe about, I want to say maybe it was about 2 or 3 years ago. I was in her basement. And I found my folder that had at least like 30, 40. I actually still have them. So it is my goal to take those old poems, kind of revamp them a little bit, and possibly put out a poetry book very soon.
You should.
I'm hoping to do that. But I look back and I read them, and I promise you, girl, I'll be like, what was you talking about? You ain't know nothing about this.
I think you should. I think it would be amazing. So I am advocating, yes, turn all of that poetry into a book. And probably, even though you wrote it, 15, 20 years ago, it probably still is current to today's events and today's culture. It wouldn't even be outdated. It was
It's still so relevant. It's still so relevant. But that's the thing about like love and romance. It's like it's always relevant. It's just I'm just amazed at myself. Like you really did not know what you were talking about. How you made that make sense. I don't know what movie you watched before you wrote this. I don't know what book you read before you wrote this, but
we're in the same age bracket, and we both was probably sneaking our mama Zane books like we weren't supposed to. And then you give people like girls a very vivid imagination, and here we go.
And here we are. That's exactly right.
Yes. Oh, wait, we have a couple more comments. We have another DLP author. We have author Michelle Warren. She was on 2 weeks ago. And I believe we have a friend of yours.
Oh my God! Wait, you talking about Michelle's book in public, girl? Michelle's book.
We talked in code a lot. We talked in code. Yeah, we talked in code. So if you, for those that don't know, Michelle Warren was on 2 weeks ago. She wrote erotica short stories called The Exploration of Her. Yeah.
I read Michelle's book on a plane. I was on my way to LA and I was like, oh, I'm gonna, read her book when I'm on the plane. I texted her and told her I will never, ever, ever, ever read your book in public ever again. Because
Michelle has her own personal warning labels when you purchase her books. It's not for the faint of heart. It's a good book.
Good book. But
not for the faint of heart. So if you are adventurous and curious and not scared, I say go to legacybookbar.com and purchase that book because they are in stock and we're getting more. So you want that good, it's getting cold outside, all warm and fuzzy and everything. You might want to get that book. Just a side note. I'm just saying. So 20 years, you have a folder full of short stories, probably some novels written in there. What made you decide to, okay, I'm going to, for real this time, write this book?
So this is going to be so funny, but things come to me at the most random moments in the most random ways. And so I had been talking about, again, wanting to write a book for a long time, but just never really thought I would actually do it. That mutual friend of ours who has joined the broadcast as an audience member, Amanda Chambers, her amazing self created her self-publishing company, Divine Legacy Publishing. And so I was like, you know what? And so she wrote her book, Ember's Flame. And when I read it, I was like, okay, clearly this is the motivation. Like if she has waited 13 years and finally got her book out, then it's not too late for me. But I had no idea what I wanted to write about. I mean, not a clue. I had nothing. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna write, but I'm gonna write something. And then I had a dream. It was the most ridiculous dream, but it was like I had a dream. I was like, oh my God, this guy is like stalking this girl, but he really loves this girl. He's not like stalking her. It's like a kind of stalking her. I was like, but wait, he got a crazy daddy too. Oh my God. And that is how A Twisted Love was born.
Gotcha. So I, as you know, so every author that submits their book to the store, I always read the first 3 chapters of the book. And then I read it, and then I was like, okay, now granted, you've been in the store since February. So then getting ready for tonight, I was like, wait, do a reread, do a quick do the first 3 chapters again, reread, just so you can be aware of what to talk about. And then I read it and I said, if this book don't remind me of Netflix Joe, I was like, what?
It's so crazy. Girl, I had to reread it myself because I was like, wait, what did I say right here again? But yeah.
I immediately thought of Joe. And if anyone has, I think the show is called.
It's called You.
It's called You. So if anyone has seen the Netflix show You, crazy. Like, and then by the time I got to the end of the series, for some reason, I'm definitely crazy. I'm actually rooting for Joe. I'm like, no, you don't do that to Joe. But then of course, so I watched that during COVID, or maybe pre-COVID. I watched you. Then I did the reread, and I was like, goodness gracious, this is just like watching you, but I'm reading a book. What is going on here?
It's so funny because it's so many. So one thing that I love that my readers always tell me is that they always think that it's one thing, and then when they get to the middle, they think that it's something different. And then by the time they get to almost the end, they're like, I'm sure it's this. And then they finish it and they're like, girl, it was nothing like that. Like, I could not figure it out. And with A Twisted Love, I actually wrote it as a standalone, but I wrote a cliffhanger at the end. And I literally, I promise, my mom called me and my mom was like, so is Red pregnant or not? And I was like, I said, who the hell are you talking about? Who is you? She was like, you know what I'm talking about. She was talking about my book. I'm like, Mom, first of all, you read that? Second of all, how you call me cussing me out over a character in a book? She was dead serious. She was like, you have to write a part 2. I have to know. I have to know. So I was
upset that
I was pretty threatened. Pretty threatened.
I mean, no, Mom said it. I didn't have to. So
yeah, Mom said it. Mom said you have to write a part 2.
Coming soon, maybe.
So there is a sequel coming actually this year. It is already written. Yes. So if I would tell anybody, if you like a lot of love and a lot of gangster at the same time, that's the book for you. And part 2 continues that same theme. We may have a little international love going on, but it's gonna work.
Okay.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. I've been working on it for 2 years, so it definitely has to drop this year.
Oh boy, 2021 for me is going to be amazing with all of my authors coming out with new books. And this is the one thing I love about being a bookstore owner. I get to read everything. So,
right?
Hey, Manina, I got a new book coming. Send it. Come on. Let's go. Let's read Power Stats. I love it.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. So I can't wait. I can't wait to have that in a legacy BookBar.
Absolutely. So what made you decide, because again, I know you have a vast knowledge, especially with the industry that you in entertainment, you have the option of being able to do traditional versus self-published. And quite the majority of the authors that were on before you are self-published. And I always ask them, like, what was your reasoning with going self-published versus traditional? And then the few that were traditional, I asked them the same thing. Like, why did they go traditional versus self-published? So what about you?
So to be completely honest, there are a couple of reasons. One, because I am, and I hate to admit this, but it's true, I'm a control freak, right? Like, I want stuff to be done my way, how I want it to look, how I want it to sound. And I don't want someone to tell me, well, with our company, we do it like this, or, you know, we want your company like that, or blah, 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 blah. I want something, and I wanted something that I felt was really going to represent me and represent what I wanted my book to be, right? And I felt like self-publishing was the best way to do that. It gave me the ability to, you know, I designed my own covers. I was able to, you know, help and do my own marketing. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not easy. Like, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of upfront costs. So it's definitely not the cheaper route, and it's not the easier route. It is definitely the dedicated route, right?
Absolutely.
And then the other reason, besides supporting my girl Amanda for sure, is because I feel like there's a lot of stereotypical information about self-published authors that, self-published authors don't have the, proper editing, or self-published authors
Absolutely.
don't get marketing. Self-published authors don't have, aren't able to really take their books or their writing to the next level. And I felt like that's all trash. It really, I've read some traditionally published books that have been horrid. So, what does that say? So a part of me wanted to be like, this is another opportunity to prove people wrong, to let people know, in the industry, that it's not about the style of publishing that you take, but it's about the quality of the content you're producing. So.
Absolutely. 1000% agree. So a few weeks ago, I went to the Baltimore Black Book Expo. They do it twice a year. So the first time I went in February, I was walking around to the tables, and as I'm walking by, I hear someone talking to one of the authors. Now, from just looking at the cover, the cover of the book looked amazing. So you could tell that they had spent some money getting that cover for their book. And this customer or potential customer gave them the absolute riot act as far as, so who published your book? Self-publishing? Did you go through a self-publishing company? How many editors did they have? Did they edit? What's the educational background behind that? Gave them the riot act. And I'm like,
the most.
I said, why would we? And again, some self-published authors don't have the knowledge of where to go when it comes to editing, where to go to get the proper format. They just don't know. And I noticed that at this current book expo, the content of the book was 1000% correct, but the visual of the book was, I was like, ugh.
Need a little work.
That's not going to work. Like, it's not proper book standard. It's not the right size. It is. You have to kind of go back and do it over, but trying to tell someone that in a nice way and not come off like you're being hateful to them. But it's like, no, I'm trying to help you, because I would love to have you, but I can't have you like this.
Right?
And it's like a way to tell people that without being like, you would never go to a traditional published author and say, how many editors published your book and what's their background? You would never go to a HarperCollins book like that. So don't treat the self-published authors like that, because you don't know where where their books come from. A lot of authors, even though they're self-published, they still went through a publishing company. So they went through the proper edits. They went through the writing background and making sure you could put together a good book. Like, they did that. Like, just don't think that self-published authors are less than your traditional ones. And I'm coming across that a lot out here at different pop-ups, and I'm at the malls, or I'm talking to different authors, and it's like, like, these books are amazing. What are you talking about?
What do you miss? Exactly. I was at a book fair not too long ago. I want to say it was last year in Atlanta. I went to the Atlanta the Atlanta Kickback.
Okay.
And I was around it. So first off, amazing book fair. It is so many people there, so many great authors there. And there were some who, like, I really felt like they had really good books. And just maybe, like, when you kind of talk to them and you mingle and you get to know, and I'm still, new to, being at book fairs and things like that. And thankfully, I was fortunate, or have been fortunate enough, to have people who are there who I know, who I knew previous to being an author, who were there to give me tips like, make sure you stand over here, make sure you, do this kind of thing. This is how you interact. This is how you get a little bit more noticeable, and blah, 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 blah. So I appreciate all of that was given to me. And there were so many people who had no idea that I was self-published, because you do have a few people who will come up to you and they'll ask you, who you published through. And that's because you're surrounded by people who are published by, so many other named publishing houses and clearance houses that are in this industry, that when you're around them, you're looking at their table, you're looking at their table, and I looked at my table, and I was like, my table looks just like theirs. No one would ever know without asking me.
Absolutely.
And so, it's just one of those things. But there were some authors there who were self-published, and they didn't really feel prepared. And I was just kind of walking around as you're meeting new people, you're meeting authors, and I'm just like, listen, don't be intimidated. Like, this is my first time at feedback. Don't be intimidated by the people that are here or the other people that are coming from traditional publishing companies that have a little bit more stuff on their tables or things like that, or they seem to know a little bit more people. Don't worry about it. Like, just get your book out there, talk to people, mingle, do you. So I get that there's an intimidation factor, but listen, I have read some amazing books. I am happy to be a part of Divine Legacy Publishing because we have some amazing authors with various different content genres, whatever you're looking for, whatever you need. I couldn't be more proud and more honored to be represented by such a company. And so I would tell anybody, as a matter of fact, when I come across people who talk about they want to write a book or they want to have a novel, I say to them, let me hit you up with my girl because she helps with self-publishing. I don't even ask, do they want to publish traditionally or not? I automatically throw out there that, like, I just know y'all about to self-publish. I'm telling you that you about to self-publish, and I'm telling you this who you about to contact to do it. Like, that's just kind of how I roll, right? But it's just up to you. You know what I mean? It's up to you. And then there are some who probably should go through traditional companies because maybe they don't have the time to go through the process of self-publishing, or maybe they don't have the creative drive to want to. Maybe they don't have the upfront cost to pay for someone to design your cover, pay for formatting. Maybe it's easier for you to let somebody else take care of that. And that's the other thing. I don't want to give somebody my royalties. I want my own money. I want all that. I need all the coins.
Yes. Well, let me. I have a question. I have a couple. One question. Okay. Sheraton Jones, hey girl, said, I have a question for Nikki. What does your Greg think about your book?
Oh, it's a 10. So I'm now why is he about to make me put my husband on blast like this? My husband has actually never read either of my books, right? And it's for one of two reasons. One, because if I talked about the Eagles in any of my books, he would read them from front to back because that's what he does. He is a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and he'll read anything. He will read the back of a cereal box if it's talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, right? The other part is there are moments when I want him to read the books, and then there are moments when I'm glad that he's never read the books, because what I don't want him to do is think that I am about to be or do anything of the sort that I in his books.
Got it.
I don't need to give you no ideas about what's popping off or what's about to happen on nothing. So maybe you should.
I'm not trying to see Greg or Nikki on the news from Connecticut, so
exactly
not.
Exactly.
We have Amanda over here talking about, oh shucks, you're gonna make me cry. You're probably already crying. It's
already crying. She's just trying to act
because. So for those that have never been through my website, which shockingly, how could that ever be? You go to legacybookbar.com. On the homepage at the bottom, it's like a FAQ section. And I get asked quite a bit, oh, you're a bookstore. Do you publish? No, that's not my lane. I choose not to go in that lane ever. No, but if you are looking to publish, then please go to, and actually have Divine Legacy's link posted on the FAQ. The quality, and again, this is, I love her, so she's just gonna have to cry this out for a second. The quality of work that comes out of DivineLegacyPublishing.com rivals any big name traditional publishing company. I'm just gonna say it. She has well over 40 authors signed to her publishing company, and majority of them have more than 2 books published by themselves. So, and Legacy carries about 7 of them in the store. So the quality that comes from that, the knowledge, the artistry, everything that you would want out of a publishing company is what you would get out of Divine Legacy Publishing. You're not going to get that anywhere else. So if you're watching this and you share it on your personal page or your business page, and someone is looking to become an aspiring writer and they don't know which way to go, I'm telling them, and if you've watched any of the 7 episodes before, traditional publishing, if that is for you, is the way to go. I say do it. And then if you're looking for a publishing company, I'm going to send you to Divine Legacy Publishing. Yes, Amanda, I know the waterworks are coming. Tell Sam we just talk in real life. This is just 2 girlfriends. We're just talking.
It's real. It's real. Because I can't say that I would have been comfortable publishing, like after having because it's a process. There's the copyright process, there's the getting your ISBN process, there's the the everything. And like I've been somebody that's had to do a lot on my own a lot of the time. Again, because I'm a control freak and I'm one of those people who feels like sometimes it's just better to do the stuff on your own and get it right. And Amanda knows that about me. And so she gives me the freedom to do the things that I want to do the way I want to do them while still checking me to say no. I don't care how much you want to do this or how much you want to do that. For your genre, this is what the industry standard is. This is what you're going to do. And I have to I have to tuck my tail between my legs and be like, all right, cool. I do it. Fine. Whatever. I'm gonna have an attitude when I do it, but I'm gonna do it.
Yes. So that's let everybody know. Definitely send authors to Divine Legacy Publishing.
For sure.
So let's get back to you. So publishing 2 books, Promises to Keep and A Twisted Love. What are some of your, because it's super successful, like definitely a fan favorite here in the DMV. So absolutely. So in the writing process, have you come across any failures? Because not everyone has had them yet, and that's totally understandable. But some have had some hiccups and some like, man, forget this. I'm not doing this. This is not for me. It happens.
Absolutely.
Like, have you had any of those?
I have in my own way. I have.
Okay.
I have been fortunate to have both of my books peak in the top 10 of Amazon's erotica and urban novels, urban fiction, African American fiction. So I am super excited about that.
Absolutely.
I believe Promises to Keep peaked at number 3. Promises to Keep peaked at 5, and Twisted Love peaked at number 3. So I was super excited about both of those. And there were moments where I was like, I did not know. So first of all, I started writing Promises to Keep in 2018.
Okay.
It didn't drop until last summer, 2019. And it was supposed to literally, there was so many challenges that I had with writing this particular book because like life got in the way, you know what I mean? And that's just kind of one of the biggest things that I feel that hinders me sometimes when I'm trying to do something, that life gets in the way. I work for, like, my day job outside of this is at ESPN. And as you can imagine, ESPN is busy. They want stuff all the time. And that's fine. Like, that's what I signed up for, so that's fine. But after I'm done dealing with that majority of the day, and as you know, the sports news cycles never stops. It's always 24/7. So by the time I'm done with that, when I get a moment to like kick my feet up and relax, there are just moments where I just don't really feel like writing. I'm just like, my brain doesn't work. I've already written a million things today. I can't do it. And I kind of have fallen into this little trap where it just becomes repetitive, and then it becomes a cycle, and then days go by, months go by, and then the next thing you know, it's 2020 and you ain't finished this book yet. Like, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of the thing that happened with Promises to Keep. I started it. I knew what I wanted to write. I knew what it was going to say. Actually, I made that up. I started in 2017 because I had already done A Twisted Love. It was already finished. And I started in November 2017, and it didn't come out until 2019. So life got in the way, and I was concerned that because of the amount of time that it took to finish it, that like maybe the book didn't make sense, maybe it wasn't going to be consistent, maybe like I just had all these doubts in my head about how the finished product was going to be. So to know that it peaked at number 5, to know that people are consistently ordering it, that it's a fan favorite. People, like I've literally had people inbox me, email me like, oh my God, I love this book. I relate so much to the characters.
Absolutely.
That just felt really good and felt like a little win to me because, again, I was feeling like I'm letting myself down by not being able to complete what I started. So
right.
That's just kind of, life just gets in the way, and it's irritating, but
absolutely it happens because I know a lot of people probably think, oh, she has a bookstore and she's always posting on Instagram. That stuff is set 2 weeks ahead of time.
Girl, okay.
That's posted 2 weeks. 2 weeks in the game. Like November Instagram is already set in motion.
It's already set. We already roll it.
I already did that. But I still work a 9 to 5. So trying, and my 9 to 5 is legit 11-hour days, 4 days a week. It has nothing to do with Legacy BookBar. So a lot of the times, it's 9 o'clock. Let's start a podcast, or let's answer some emails. Let's do inventory. Let's do, but I do believe, 6 to 11, you build your empire. 9 to 5, you work your day job. And that's what we do here. I totally.
You gotta do.
But I can't wait 2 years for book 2. So
I have. So, and that's the thing. So, Promises to Keep, thank God, is a standalone. So I closed it. Not worried about that. But A Twisted Love 2 is gonna be a lot of fun because I don't know. I just felt like the way, like the response to the first one was so good that, and I really, so there was a difference for me in writing book 1 and writing book 2, right? Writing book 1, I did, when I was writing A Twisted Love, I was literally like a little bright-eyed, bushy-tailed new author. Like I just, I'm looking at people talking about, did you do character development? I was like, what? Character development? No, this is a homegirl from around the way. That's me. I know that. Like, I don't need to develop that. I mean, not that she was mimicking me, but just, I know what it's like to be a homegirl from around the way. I'm originally from Detroit, from East 7 Mile. I grew up in the hood. I know what it's like to be a hood girl. So I don't need to develop that. I just write what I know, right? And then as you're going through the writing process, you're like, now I get why people was talking about character development, because I'm in chapter 8 and I gotta go back to chapter 2 to remember how I described such and such, because I don't want to be inconsistent. And so when you're writing the second book, all of those little things that you didn't do, and those things that you kind of took for granted, you pay more attention to. So I did take the time to do character development. I did take the time to kind of map out how I wanted each chapter to go versus sitting at my computer and going for it. And I kind of feel like I could see the development between writing A Twisted Love and writing Promises to Keep. Like I can see, similarities with myself, with Nikki, but then I also see the differences of how I grew just within that, couple of that year that I took to write each one. And so now that I'm looking at A Twisted Love 2, I just continue to still feel myself mature as a writer, which is great. And if I don't, I know Amanda gonna be like, nah, boo, this don't make sense. And
she will check you in a heartbeat. She'll do it with love, but she don't have no problem checking you. But
like, this don't make sense. So I'm excited about book 2. I'm excited about A Twisted Love 2. I just think that the characters, the main characters from the first book will be in the and that was another thing too. when it came to writing a sequel, because I didn't want, and this is a sneak peek for everybody. I didn't want the main characters in book 1 to also be the main characters in book 2. I wanted the main characters. So the main characters in book 2 will be different, but the characters from book 1 will still be in book 2. And I think that also helps when you're progressing to challenge myself, right? I wanted to challenge myself to, how do you keep, how do you make this make sense without necessarily being repetitive, right? Because I don't know if you ever picked up a book. I don't know any off the top of my head. Like, I've read some, but there are some books that I've read part 1, and then I go and I read part 2, and I'm like, okay, it's not that it's a bad book, but it's just like the characters didn't really develop or change. All you really do is change the setting, or you know what I'm saying? You might have said 2 years later, but really they haven't matured as people.
There's no growth.
There's no growth. It's like I'm in a different scenario, but the people are still the same. And so I wanted to challenge myself to say, okay, if you're going to write about them and further along in their life, how are you making them different? How are you challenging them to be the characters people fell in love with, but how have they matured, right? So it just took a little bit longer than I wanted to. Life got in the way. But I really think that people are going to enjoy book 2. It's still some twisted stuff.
Okay. I'm ready. So before we get into your books really quickly, what's some advice you would give someone that's starting to become a writer?
I would say, one, understand that it's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
There are days where you have writer's block. There are days where things you just don't feel like you have it. There are going to be people who are going to say to you, you want to be a writer? Girl, whatever. For real? Nobody going to read your book. Like, people who, there are people who literally looked at me and was like, what's your book about? The coat? Your book about basketball? What's your book write about? You about to write about the Lions? Like, and so it's like you kind of get put in a box where people for one thing and they can see you for one thing, and so they only expect one thing from you. Don't let people put you in a box. Like, write about what you want to write about, the way you want to write it. Be confident in your ability to do what you want to do. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, don't let that stop you. Try again. You know what I mean? So I think that's the advice I would give somebody. Just don't let anybody deter you. If you want to write, write.
Absolutely. I'm all for it. And then, once you write, you get published. We know a publishing company. Then you have a home for your book when you get published.
You do. What else? Really quickly, what else? It's not even just the publishing company itself, it's the authors that are in it. Like, reading is not brand new. People have been reading since forever, right? So there is room for everybody in this industry. You don't have to claw and tear other authors down. You don't have to, there are so many authors with DLP and outside of DLP who I would be like, if someone's looking for a good book, girl, let me tell you about this book. I'm not selfish to the point where I only feel like you should read my books. Like, there are so many good books out there, and a lot of them are with DLP. And I am happy to be a part of a group where other women, I'm constantly being tagged on Facebook and Instagram or whatever, because they're like, tag an author, tag a book, blah, 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 blah. And DLP is so good with that. That's like when you're talking about Michelle. Yes, I read Michelle's book. It's so good. Another one, Jennifer Robinson, amazing author. I'm like, girl, whatever you write, just put it on pre-order for me now. And I'll just pay for it when it drops, because I know it's gonna be good. Like, it's so we really feel like we've embraced, or at least from my experience, I feel like as a group of women we have, and men too. There are men, Kyle, Neil Brown, author K Fitz, like all of y'all. Like, it's a dope family, and I love it.
Absolutely. One of the things Amanda and I joked about when she was going through marketing and branding with me for the store, she said, this industry is cutthroat. I'm like, over books? who banging over books? Are you? And then so this was what, June, July of last year, and I'm going through all of this. And I'm like, who banging over books? And she's like, girl, she's like, I don't want to tell you everything. I don't want to discourage you. And I'm like, no, tell me everything. I want to be prepared. So now fast forward, it's been almost a year. And I'm like, these folks is banging over books. Yes. And I like, and no one, if you are in this industry, then you understand this analogy. If you are not, you would not believe it, because you would think, oh, it's books. But the book industry is treated like you are getting drafted into the NFL or the NBA.
Like it's only 12 spots available.
It's only 12 spots, and you have to get one of the spots.
No.
I'm like, it's 50, 11 genres out here.
I'm telling you.
I read them all.
So everybody, it's room. You don't have to claw and scratch. You don't. It's room. And I just would encourage any new author who's trying to come out here, please don't let the negative experiences that other people may have deter you, because it's room. Like Amazon has no shortage of space on a website for your book, believe me.
Absolutely. And if by some crazy chance Amazon say it's no room at the end, Legacy ain't Legacy ain't never closed, honey.
Legacy got you. You don't need Barnes and Noble. You better go to Legacy.
Right. So wait, Amanda's crying again.
Amanda stay crying.
We had to call her later. Poor thing. But and this is what I love. So Legacy is, for those that are just tuning in, Legacy BookBar is an online Black-owned bookstore that caters, but not exclusive to self-published authors. And my little slice of heaven of my authors are really starting to become a family, and it's starting to gel. And I'm so mad COVID messed up everything, and I wasn't able to bring the authors in person here to Baltimore. So hopefully next year, cross your fingers, I'm able to do that next year. But I love the fact that I have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 authors and one potential, because I got your email, Shatan, that are part of Legacy BookBar and is on the podcast and actually like responding and engaging. I love that. Thank you. I have author Brandy Fiborn Smith, who said, seriously, no joke about what we just discussed. Now, side note, Brandy saw me on another podcast for another company, and she was like, hey, I have a book. I want to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, let's talk. Sure. So I called her the next day. 2 hours on the phone, and she's like, I have a women empowerment group. I want to bring you out here to Texas, out to Fort Worth. I want you to speak at my conference. I'm like, girl, you lying. Ain't nobody want to talk to me. Are you serious? Yeah. No, girl, you're crazy. No, but come on. And no, she's like, no, I'm dead serious. And like, she got my information, put my picture on the flyer, and now I am a speaker, one of the panelists at her conference. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
How you do it though? Like, that is how it's done. It's all about uplifting other women. It's all about making sure that everybody has an opportunity, because literally it's not just words. When people say when one win, we all win. Like it's really about opening doors for other people. And when you get that one or two, you got that slow down crabs in a barrel mentality, you gotta be like, no, like just
stay over there. There. But it's unfortunate because you will have a few. But for the most part, the one that understand, me getting on doesn't stop you from getting on. So you hold my hand, or you grab the baton, and you grab the baton, and you pass it, and you pass it. But passing the baton does not mean that there's no place for you to eat. You still have a place at the table. passing it, you know, it's a buffet. And the food doesn't go away.
For real. If I ever feel like it ain't no room for me at a table, I'm just gonna make a whole nother damn table. Look, I'm just gonna pull up another table. Here we go. I'm just gonna pull up. We're gonna pull up, and we just
Hence why
you have gone to Golden Corral, and you have seen that it's only 12 seats at this table. Let me go over here and grab another table and pull it up, so the rest of us can sit here too. Because it's really that simple. When Legacy Book Bar wins, I win because my books are at Legacy Book Bar. All you're doing is making more space for people to see our books. So it's really, it's really not that hard. I love it. One of my favorite hashtags is women supporting women, because literally we have to take care of our own. We have to support our own. We have to be there for us, especially Black women, because it's not a lot of, like, I feel like my books can be just as great as everybody else who writes in the romance genres and who writes in the erotic genres, you know, and I feel like we can together, helping each other, promoting each other, marketing each other, supporting each other, we can make it happen.
Absolutely. And I want to say thank you, because I know you are one of the few authors that will say, you know, you'll post about your book, you'll throw a snippet, and then you'll say, you can purchase this book at Amazon and at Legacy Book Bar. And I'm like,
you can get it everywhere. Let me tell you, everywhere where you can get this book, because everybody you have to put everybody on, because somebody had to do it for me, right? Like nobody knew me as an author. Like honestly, nobody knew me as an author for real. And so in order for people to get to know me like that, somebody has to say, come here, Nikki, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody had to say, come here, let me put you on my stuff. And I love that. And it's only fair continuing the cycle. It's only right. It's only fair. Women supporting women. That's the hashtag. I'm telling you.
Yes, absolutely. So really quickly, tell the audience, I'm going to show Promises to Keep. So for those that are tuning in that have not had an opportunity to purchase the book, shock face, you have an opportunity at legacybookbar.com to purchase the book. So tell us really quickly, what's this book about?
Sure. So Promises to Keep follows the story of Derek. And Derek is a very esteemed attorney, one of the only African-American attorney in his firm. And he is faced with several challenges. He faces racism in his firm. But the biggest problem that he faces is that he's torn between two women. He doesn't know exactly how he's going to handle the situation that he's in. He's got a girl who, you know, has been by his side for the longest of time, but he still doesn't feel like something is right. And then he has one who comes out of nowhere, and he feels like everything with her is right, but she just came out of nowhere, you know? Like, how does that work? So it's definitely a love story. It's a story that, again, it deals with racism, it deals with betrayal, it deals with mental health issues. Which is something that we kind of really don't talk about, but it dibbles a little bit into mental health issues. And I think if you read this book, if you're somebody that is, for one, wants to get a good story. All of my books are thrillers, so they all come with a little bit of whodunit, bit of surprises. But I think this one that people will definitely enjoy. It does have a happy ending, and it does not have a cliffhanger, so it's a standalone.
Okay. So then let's talk about A Twisted Love.
So A Twisted Love is that little bit of love, a little bit of gangster, a little bit of hood, all mixed in together. A Twisted Love follows the story of Red and Q, who are two college students, fifth-year seniors, who are connected to each other but have no idea that they are connected to each other. Red is one of those characters who's like, I'm focused on school. I want to do this with my life. I want to do this with my career. And having dudes and boyfriends and all this other stuff is not going to deter me. Q is a person who is used to having everything. He's got money, he's a popular basketball player. He has everything. People don't tell him no, right? He gets what he wants all the time. And so they challenge each other. They challenge each other frequently. They fall for each other, but there are some things that really, really don't want them to be together, and they really have to figure that out. So in this story, there's love, there's sex, there's murder. People get it. People get it. People don't survive this one, y'all. They don't survive this one.
She done turned the Game of Thrones into romance.
They don't survive this one. You might want to wear your bulletproof vest in this one. So definitely check that out. And you will continue to follow Red and Q and A Twisted Love 2, which should be dropping this winter. So fingers crossed. I'm gonna get an email in a minute from Amanda like, did you get on my schedule? Did you get on my schedule? So,
yeah, you're gonna get that one. You're gonna get that one. I feel for you. I saw it.
Right.
So really quick, how can other readers find you?
Oh, for sure. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at Nikki Charest. Just type in and my name, Nikki Charest. You can also visit my website, www.authornikkicharest.com. And I am always on social media. So find me, follow me, chat with me, talk with me, friend me. I'm around, I'm available, I'm easy to talk to. So yeah, hit me up, y'all.
So you made it. We're almost at that hour break. You made it.
I made it.
You made it. Yes. So I ask all of my guests this because I don't give out the questions ahead of time because we want real life answers in the moment. So as I was coming up with good questions to ask, I always have to have this signature question. So for you're an ESPN writer, you're a sports journalist, you've been writing essentially your entire life. You have husbands, kids, like where you can go is just the sky is the limit for you. Down the road, what do you want your legacy to be?
Wow, you don't pull no punches, do you? To be honest, I honestly, when my eyes are closed to this world, I just want people to be able to look back at me and said, like, I was impacted by her because she allowed me to believe I can be greater. I can be better. You know what I mean? And I feel like that is, no matter how I'm doing it, if it's, me writing, I say this a lot of times to a lot of people who I talk to when it comes to being in the sports industry, there are not a lot of Black women in sports. Especially not in sports media, especially not in sports journalism. And if nobody ever reads a story I write, but there's a little Black girl out there who's like, if she can do it, I can do it. I feel like my job is done. You know what I mean? And the same thing with the things that I try to do in the community. I just want people to be like, Tarika really believed in me and she helped me to be better. And whatever facet that is, Nikki helped me to be better, whatever facet that is. And I really want that to be my legacy. I really want people to think that about me. Like, it's just, I knew she was a genuine individual who truly cared about what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, how I could get there, and put forth an effort to get me there. And that's just really what I am and what I am. And if I've done that, if you can say that about me, I'm good. I don't need nothing else.
I love it. That is perfect. Thank you. Oh, we got some amazing. I cannot wait to look at the replay and see the viewership and the comments because tonight was absolutely amazing.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
I did. So I was able to put at Nikki Charest for your social media handle. So hopefully you'll get some more follows. Yes. My mom, who is my #1 fan of Legacy BookBar, she said, "Good job, ladies."
Oh, hey, Mom.
Natasha Moore said, this is awesome, ladies. Thank you, Natasha. Hopefully you start following Legacy BookBar going forward. Miss Tamara Hawkins said, iron sharpens iron. Absolutely. And the women's group that we're in, Empowered Women in Business International, that's one of the things that we always say is iron sharpens iron. Absolutely. We're not going to get far if we can't sharpen one another. Exactly. So I also let people know that Twisted Love and Promises to Keep, they can find in the store.
Yes. Go to Legacy BookBar. Get the book.
Yes. Thank you. So I have a few more things to talk about as far as what's going on in the store. So you can hang out with me for like 5 to 7 more minutes. And then
for sure.
So my audience, thank you so much for watching Legacy BookBar Sip and Chat episode 8 with Nikki Charest. As you know, Twisted Love and a Promises to Keep can be purchased right here at legacybookbar.com. Excuse me. Legacy BookBar has so much going on this last half of the year. Like, I could have a whole episode on just the things that are going on so you guys wouldn't miss it. But I'm going to try to do it in under 5 minutes. So timing, watch this. So tomorrow we're having a virtual book club. We're doing a repeat of A Concrete King because we were having some technical difficulties in September. So we want to make sure the author had an opportunity to have her book actually showcased on the virtual book club. So we will be talking to author Elena Simone with Concrete King, nice urban fiction. So if you are Elena Simone, which I'm pretty sure she's watching the broadcast and she's probably shared with family and friends, please feel free to join the book club. You do not have to purchase the book through me to be a part of the book club. So if you are already friends and family of hers and you've already purchased, for some support for the bookstore as well as the author, please feel free to join. That will be tomorrow on the website. The link is available. That is tomorrow from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. October, busy month for book clubs. October, we're doing 2 book clubs. October 24th. First book club we have is Alabama Sunrise. We will be talking with author Gerald Johnson. He is actually going to be on the podcast in a couple of weeks, and his book club is on the 23rd. So again, family and friends, or if you've never purchased, you're wanting to start a book club or be a part of one, and you're like, where do I go? Where do I do? You can go to legacybookbar.com and you can start with Alabama Sunrise. Now, of course, you're thinking, well, it's Halloween. Where's her scary story? Like, it's got to be a horror story. Well, duh. Of course it does, because guess what? Here it is. We're going to be talking with Ren Thompson, author of Dead Heat. Dead Heat is Law and Order meets Walking Dead 2020. A little different, right? So I actually, just like we talked about Divine Legacy Publishing all throughout the broadcast, I would not be a great bookstore owner if I didn't actually talk about Mocha Memoirs Press, who is also a Black-owned self-publishing book company. I want to say out of Chicago. Please forgive me if that is the wrong city, but I do believe they are in Chicago, and they, I think, primarily have horror stories or sci-fi or fantasy. Those are the genres that they particularly handle. So if you are right in that particular genre and you want to self-publish, you might want to check out Mocha Memoirs Press. 6 of their authors are 6 book titles, 4 authors are actually sold at Legacy BookBar. So that should tell you something, right?
Right.
6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on October 23rd, we will be having Ren Thompson, author of Dead Heat, on the virtual book club. So one thing I try to do with my virtual book clubs is I try to be a little different than the other book clubs. I actually try to have the authors on the call. So you have an opportunity to, of course, be a part of a book club, discuss the book, but also talk with the authors and like, why'd you kill my character off? Where were you going with this? Where's the sequel? Or, hey, you might say, you know what? I don't necessarily think I like that book, but in a respectful way, because constructive criticism is cool. And
it's important.
It's important because the authors need to know. But I feel like, you don't always get that with the book clubs, especially, you might just go to Barnes & Nobles, you might go to Amazon, you pick a book and then you just talk about it. But no, we actually have the authors on the call, and it kind of gives some visibility to the authors. They get to see who's actually purchasing their books. And these authors are spread out all over the United States. So how cool is it to say we have an author in Texas or in Connecticut or in California, and they're actually able to join our podcast or our book club in this case. So that's one of the reasons why I actually like doing the virtual book club. So 3 book clubs in October. Almost done. We're still there? Okay, great. So November 1st, big news for Legacy BookBar. It is our 1-year anniversary that Legacy BookBar has been. So yes. So of course, because of COVID, we weren't able to do our annual Legacy BookBar Book Summit. Now, my goal was to have it in person, but COVID, thank you, I'm not able to do that. So this year is going to be virtual, but it's going to be really great. So some of the authors that you've seen on the podcast, some of the authors that haven't had an opportunity because their episodes are coming later on in the year are actually going to be on the podcast. So it's going to be a roundtable discussion. You'll see authors from multiple genres on the call, and they'll be able to tell their who, whys, what, wins of their experiences in the book industry, because people want to know, especially aspiring authors and the fans. They want to know, like, well, how did you become who you are in this industry? You need to know. So that's what the book summit is going to be about. On the flip side of that, I'm actually going to have a few of the owners of self-publishing companies on, and they're actually going to get a segment, and they're going to tell you the who's, the whys, the absolutely do nots, the absolute yeses of joining a self-publishing company versus traditional publishing. And I'm actually still trying to work on an owner of a traditional publishing company so people can kind of get
the comparison.
Thank you. Yes, of both sides of that ball. So November 1st, right here, live on our Facebook page, on Legacy BookBar's Facebook page, Legacy BookBar Book Summit. So all of the authors of Legacy BookBar have been invited. I'm still getting a lot of RSVP, so they will be there. If you are an aspiring author, but you are not a part of Legacy BookBar, you have an opportunity to actually come on the podcast and talk about your book. I am actually opening it up to other authors outside of Legacy BookBar. If you've been on my social media pages, you'll actually see that there has been flyers posted that you can actually, for a very small fee, you can actually have your book on the book summit.
Nice.
That goes for authors and business owners. So you can have one or the other, a business or a book's own author, and you could be featured for twice a week on social media and have an ad space on the book summit. Go find the flyer. It's on. I'm going to post it again tonight. I'm going to post it throughout the weeks. You have an opportunity. I'm so excited about the book summit. It's going to be amazing. So you're going to want to stay tuned to that. It's Halloween. It's October. I'm waiting for Christmas to come because Hallmark is about to set it all off. But I know some people like the ooh of Halloween. I totally get it. It would be remiss of me not to show a few of the books that we have in the genres of sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. So I already showed you Dead Heat, right? We have Black Magic Women, which is a short story collections of horror stories, also published by Mocha Memoirs Press. This is over 15 stories by 15 or so different Black authors. So you can get this at legacybookbar.com. You can get Devourer. What is this? A Minister Night Novel, Volume 1. We also have Volume 1 and Volume 2 sold in the store, and the store is legacybookbar.com. Thank you for saying it with me. Yes. Also published by also published by Mocha Memoirs Press. We have A Crimson Hunter for our sci-fi and paranormal by author Indy Jones, who is a USA Today best-selling author, and you can get her book where? Legacybookbar.com. That's right. And then girl. Yes, I love it. Thank you. And then she also has a 3-book series of Fear and Faith. You can get that at legacybookbar.com. Now you're probably thinking, now this is not all of the sci-fi and all of the fantasies and all of the horrors that we have. It's just a few that we have. And I'm showing you this. Why? Because you have until October 31st to use that shop code BOO4U and get 10% off any books in paranormal, sci-fi, horror, fantasy. Who does not like a good sale and right before Black Friday? So why not? So make sure you use those shop codes at www.legacybookbar.com. Make sure you tune in next week for Legacy Book Bar Sip and Chat. That is a special edition episode. Why? Because we are celebrating Women in Business Week. I will have not 1, not 2, but 3 talented, ambitious, beautiful women, Terry Butler, Kia Crowder, and Nicole Mosby Taylor. They are fabulous women here in Baltimore in the DMV, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves and their businesses, and they will be on the podcast next week. Then the following week, I will actually have who do I have? Malachi Bailey, author of her sci-fi fantasy author, and that is going to round out our October episodes of Legacy Book Bar Sip and Chat. So much is going on this year. If you don't catch me on the podcast and you don't see me on social media, I mean, how could you miss me? I post every day. But if you want to see me live, you can actually see me 7 times at White Marsh Mall in Nottingham, Maryland. We have 7 pop-ups starting November 7th at White Marsh Mall. You're going to want to get all your holiday books for all of your genres, for your kids, your men, your father, your mom, your niece, your coworker. You guys are doing, what's that? Pick a name out the hat, Secret Santa. And you're like, oh my God, what do I get? You're going to get them a book with a t-shirt, with a coffee mug, and you're going to get that from legacybookbar.com. Exactly. So make sure you're paying attention. You're following social media and all 3 social media sites. You want to send me a personal DM like, I need a gift. I got you. We got totes. We got t-shirts. We got pillows. We got books. We got everything. You're going to want to be here to get all that stuff starting. The holiday season is around the corner. I want to say thank you so much to author Nikki Charest for being here with us tonight. She was an amazing guest. We will have her back here on the Book Summit on November 1st. You guys have an amazing night. Make sure you purchase, make sure you follow, make sure you share. You guys have an amazing night, and we will see you next week on the Legacy Book Bar Sip and Chat.